of this interview is to just discuss the oral history of Yavapai College, as Brent has probably talked to you about. I want to thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. This is helping my grade.
Glad to be.
And so how long have you been here at Yavapai?
I've been here 13 and a half years.
Yeah. Do you remember how you were drawn to Yavapai?
This is a funny story.
Oh, good. I love funny stories.
Every summer, when I was teaching at Mississippi State University, I would take my own vacation to go hiking and stuff, which was fine with my wife because she was busy during the summer.
Right.
And frequently I would take resumes with me and drop them off at various colleges because I always thought I'd like to teach in the Southwest. Well, I had dropped one off at Yavapai, and about 3 years later I decided to quit my job at Mississippi State University, and my wife and I flew to Flagstaff, found a house, leased a house, got back to Mississippi, and my two daughters, who had been worried, said, "What are we going to do? You don't have a job." And I said, "The universe works in odd ways. Something will work out." 5 minutes after I walked in the door, after coming back from leasing a house in Flagstaff, the phone rang, and it was Yavapai College. And the woman said, 2 years ago you left a resume here. Are you still interested in teaching here? I said, "Are you kidding me? I just signed a lease on a house in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I don't have a job."
Wow.
She said, "Well, hop back on the plane and come out for an interview." So I just dumped my clothes out, put clean clothes in, drove back to the airport, hopped on a plane, flew out, had the interview, and I'd been nervous about some interviews because I was a little bit of a long hair.
Oh.
My wife said some people aren't going to take you because of that.
Yeah.
But my interview here went so well, it was clear I fit here. And I was so flattered that they actually paged me at the airport to ask me if I'd accept the job.
Wow.
So it was an interesting story, and I've wanted to live in the Southwest, and so I found my spot.
That's incredible. What did you get your degree in college?
English.
English.
Yeah. A lot of literature classes, a lot of creative writing classes, a lot of composition classes, and I took quite a few classes in teaching English as a second language.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I came here, I did have a job actually if I wanted to go to Thailand.
Oh.
But my daughters didn't want to go to Thailand.
Right. No, I've heard stories about Thailand. And do you know, can you think of any faculty members that have been here that you've worked with for the past 13 years, 13 and a half years?
Yeah, we have some pretty impressive faculty members. In a variety of courses, you have Dr. Dieter Bartels, teaches
Right.
anthropology, humanities,
Right.
different philosophies, who's an interesting guy because he's a world traveler, and it's amazing when he talks to his students about different places in the world, he's probably been there.
Yeah.
And then Paul Ewing was here when I got here, and he's one of our incredibly amazing and innovative instructors. And when he teaches the World War II era and teaches about Stalin, he'll dress up like Joseph Stalin. And John Frericks in biology has been here since I've been here, and I think he's a phenomenal instructor. I know my daughter took his class and really liked it. And in math, Jim Bostwick.
Oh, yeah.
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 And he's always really highly rated. So yeah, it's funny, the administrators tend to leave, but the instructors have stayed.
Right.
My mentor, when I first got here, just retired. She had been here for years. I don't know how many years she taught here before she retired. Pretty close to 30, Ginny Chanda.
Yes, she was another one of our interviews.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, she was a great mentor for me.
Yeah.
So.
I had her for one class, Shakespeare on Film, and she's just very outgoing.
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
Especially when it comes to Shakespeare.
Yes.
That's her love.
Oh, she's funny. So, obviously you've seen a significant amount of change in Yavapai College since you've been here. What would you say the greatest change has been?
The amount of square footage of buildings. We're sitting in one right now we didn't have.
Right.
And used to be called the Northern Arizona Skills Center, where the science labs are now and the nursing labs, and it might still be called that. Another change, though, that I've really noticed is when I first got here, more of my students were students who had been out of school for a while,
Yes.
and the average age was higher. Right now, we are getting more and more students right out of high school more and more students who are in their last year of high school.
Yeah.
I had a lot of seniors this year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat for me. I see a lot more young people, and they're teaching me things. In fact, I discovered YouTube this semester because of my young students.
Yeah. How would you say that students perform?
There's a few things going on, and it's hard to say because you have different students.
Right.
I have some young students who are just excellent.
Mm-hmm.
They come to every class, they do their work, they write good papers.
Right.
The last few years, though, I've seen more and more young students try to fool me and download papers off the internet.
Right.
And I'm not stupid, and I usually catch them.
Right.
But I do see, I think generally the achievement level has been about the same.
Mm-hmm.
But so many young students now have so many things going on in their lives.
Yeah.
That sometimes they're not focused.
Mm-hmm.
Yet again, I have a very bright young student this semester who, as I discovered later on in the semester, because her computer screen was up, while I was lecturing and while we were having classroom discussions, was checking out her friends' sites on Facebook or MySpace. And yet I would turn to her and I'd say, okay, in William Blake's London, he uses the phrase, mind-forged manacles. What does he mean by that? And she'd give me an excellent answer. And so I asked her, I said, how can you do that and give me these, and stay focused on what I'm doing and giving me an insightful answer? So I do that all the time, I do 3 or 4 things at once.
Yeah.
So I think that has changed, and for some students, they don't do, because they're doing 3 things at once, they don't do any of them real well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, I'm impressed with the achievement level of our students. I think they don't read as much as we did when we were younger.
Definitely.
And I'm very interested in politics, and since I teach a course that really is argumentation, I try to make it current, so I look at a lot of current political situations.
Right.
And I think a lot of students are very politically unaware.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why young people don't vote that much.
Right.
They don't realize the power they have to.
Interesting. And it's really, I think it's interesting too, in the era you grew up, the politics were a lot more, I think, influenced at the time, whereas, like you were saying, a lot of students nowadays are so distracted by other things that it's they're thinking, well, what am I going to change anything? And I think a lot of times, like with, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but with the war across, over on the other side of the sea, people don't understand, the impacts it has.
Right.
And it's hard to see it.
And it's, when I was in college, and I was a freshman in 1969, when we had breaks, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have a computer.
Right.
We would sit around the student union and we would talk about political and social issues.
Right.
Because it was a period, the 60s and early 70s had a lot of bad stuff. Mm-hmm. The self-indulgence, the sex without responsibility.
Right.
But it had a lot of really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The civil rights movement, the women's movement, people were politically involved.
Right.
So it was an exciting time, and I think students today don't do that yet.
Right. Definitely.
There is since we're talking about that, there's a video I recommend you watch. I showed it yesterday. I did a presentation on a group work I did in a class I taught. Mm-hmm. And I found this video, actually, Teresa Schwickerath told me about it. It's on YouTube. It's called A Vision of Students Today. And it's about 4 minutes and 44 seconds long. And it's done by a cultural anthropology class at Kansas State University. And they're doing an ethnographic study of the YouTube generation. It's real interesting.
And it's called the study.
A Vision of Students Today.
It's interesting. So how would you say curriculum has changed?
How has the curriculum changed? I think it's changed because we've paid much more attention to what we call student learner outcomes. They used to be called objectives. And assessment has become a big thing. How do we assess what we do? How do we know we do what we say we do?
Right.
So we assess students' achievement of or fulfillment of those learning outcomes.
Right.
My curriculum has changed because I try to keep it current.
Yeah.
When I teach a 102 class, which is literature-based. I try to bring in a lot of the contemporary Hispanic writers, that they call them Chicano writers.
Oh, yeah.
This semester I did something I've never done. On one of the assignments is to write an analysis of a poem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, students are turned off to poetry because it's something about high school poetry, you know. So I brought in the lyrics to a Bob Dylan song, who was one of my heroes in the late '60s. Who really is a very good. His lyrics are very, very good. It's not just Yo Yo Mama.
Right.
I had them read the lyrics, and then we read a review, an analysis somebody had written of the song, and they thought that was really cool. I said, that's poetry.
Right.
A lot of the music you listen to is poetry. Then they said, can we hear the song? And I said, no, I don't have a CD player. They said, oh, go to YouTube. So sure enough, we went to YouTube, and we were able to see Bob Dylan playing the song. So I said, you know what? I want you to pick a song that you like, and that's going to be your poem analysis.
Yeah.
And people picked bands like the Eagles. One girl did a great one on Hotel California.
Love that song.
Another student did an analysis of a song by Tool. I'd never heard the band. I thought they were just a heavy metal, head-banging.
Yeah.
And it really was an insightful song. It was about the conflicts between spiritual desires and earthly desires, and, you know, trying to be a good person, but yet we're all weak sometimes.
Right.
I thought it was interesting.
Huh. Did you know, I believe this drummer lives in Jerome?
That's what I was told.
Yeah.
And then I discovered a band called Train. I thought they were, you know, Drops of Jupiter. And I ran into Carly's office one day, because they kid me about being stuck in the 60s. I always try to tell her I'm hip to what's going on. I said, I just discovered this new band. They've got this great song. It's called Drops of Jupiter by Train. And she said, you're a dork. She said, that song's 6 years old.
Oh, thank God for Carly.
I know. She keeps me laughing.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Sounds like a very interesting...
You know what else has changed curricula-wise? Is we have a much larger audience for online classes.
Yes.
In fact, speaking of Carly, she was instrumental in building up our sociology and our psychology program. She started putting them online. And for 6 years, I had been the Dean of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences until I just resigned last July and came back to teaching full-time. So I would get to see all those numbers.
Right.
And our enrollments in Soc and Psych just increased so much. It was incredible.
When it was put online?
Yeah. And those were the classes that would fill up first.
Right.
And so we have a lot of people who are comfortable with computers and can do that.
Yeah.
So I just took an online class this semester for a few reasons. I like to write poetry and short fiction, and I wanted an impetus to write again.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to see what an online class was like, and I wanted to get to move around Blackboard in case I ever want to teach online.
Yeah.
So I took a creative writing class from Shanti Weiland, and it was a great experience. But I did learn you have to be disciplined.
Yes.
I had to make myself sit down every week and do the assignments. It would have been easy to just kick back at home and turn on the TV
Right.
and say, I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. I wonder if we could look at, I don't know if you know this statistic, but if you could look at the grades of online courses compared to students who are involved in, in-class instruction.
That's interesting. I don't think they've looked at the grades. They have looked at the retention rates.
Oh, yeah.
And for a long time, the dropout rates in online were much higher than in-person classes.
Right.
Because students would be at home and watch TV.
Right.
At one time, I believe it was 50%, which was the national average.
Wow.
And you might ask Connie Gilmore or somebody like that at some point, or Teresa Schwickerat, if you know her.
Yeah.
I think that the online retention rate is now 75%.
Oh, good.
So it's gotten much better.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with students hearing about it, have already taken one, or starting to understand what's going to be required.
Right.
It's not so much of a shock as
Right.
it probably was.
Yeah, and it's amazing that how fast that's grown. The other thing that's changed, speaking of online, I had, in the last 3 weeks of the school this present semester, I had 14 students contact me electronically.
Right.
Some of them sent me drafts of their papers and said, would you comment on it before I handed my final paper? And I'd say, yeah, you need some transitions between your paragraphs and use some more quotes from the primary source. And
Right.
definitely do a spell check, please.
Please.
And I had 0 students come see me at my office.
Huh.
And I told this anecdote yesterday. I thought it was funny. I get up early in the morning because I'm an old fogey now. You know, I don't know what midnight looks like. I get up at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Right.
Turn the coffee on, grab a yogurt, grab a thing of juice, turn the computer on, and check my email, both personal and Yavapai College email.
Right.
And I had a student who had sent me an essay at 1 a.m. But that morning. So I commented on her essay, and I wrote back to her, and I said, and I don't believe you were working on this at 1 a.m. That astounds me. And she wrote back to me and said, I'm astounded you answered at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
So I realized we live in 2 different worlds.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
When it comes to school, I know personally, you kind of do what you have to do to get things done.
Yeah. And I was impressed that in one of the mornings, somebody would actually be working.
Right. To get it done.
And she was impressed that I would read it at that hour.
Right. Now, you were talking about, you just recently resigned from the Dean of Students.
I was, well, first assistant dean and then dean of liberal arts and social sciences.
Oh, I see. So how many different roles have you had here at Yavapai?
2, full-time faculty member, and then that dean's job.
And what was required of you under the dean's job?
I managed the division, and it's a pretty complex division with English, languages, art, history, liberal studies,
Right.
sociology, psychology. So I had 7, 8, and 9 instructors who reported to me, but I took a kind of different tact on it than some people did. I wasn't so much supervisory. As long as folks were doing the job, I said, I'm here, I work for you. Because you folks are out there doing the important work, is just teaching our students.
Right.
So our office works for you. And Teresa, who is my administrative assistant, played the game the same way. And it worked out well with the instructors and with the students.
Right.
We tried to serve the students. It didn't always work out well with the people I reported to.
Yeah.
Because they would want me to be more of a supervisor. And I'd say, look at the numbers here.
Right.
The numbers are growing. When I was the dean, luckily there's something on paper that can say I did a good job for my division. Our enrollments grew tremendously. And that really wasn't due to me, it was due to our instructors.
Right.
But I allowed them to do what they do best, and that worked out well. It also required a much longer contract. It was 48 weeks a year. Offered a little more money, of course, because it was a longer contract.
Right.
But it didn't give me enough time to do some of my hobbies, which is creative writing. I do metal sculpture.
Oh, neat.
I don't know if you've ever seen the 2 out in front of the E-building on campus. One has forks and spoons, and the other one has weird shapes. It's on that lower building on campus, the E-building. And my one true love, well, I have a lot of true loves, but things to do. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. I love interacting with students. So at 6 years, I said, did a, brief reflection and said, you know what, you need to get back to the classroom.
Right.
And so I did, and it was a good move. And it's freed me up to do other things. For instance, this summer I'll do 2 river trips instead of 1.
Oh, neat.
And I ran for the Cottonwood City Council this last election and got elected, and so it allows me to a little more time to do the city council work, which is close to my heart because I like Cottonwood and don't want to see it change too rapidly.
Yeah.
Slow growth.
So now you talked about pay, and I'm wondering, has the pay scale changed over the 13 years?
Yes.
Hopefully it has.
Yes. Yeah. I think we've gotten more in line with other community colleges. When I was first here, I think it was very low for instructors, and the cap was very low. So you had people who had been here 30 years who were maxed out and could never get another raise.
Right.
Now they've increased that, so those folks can continue to.
Good.
Yeah. So, and I think we're right about the average of community colleges in Arizona.
Good.
Yeah. So that's fair.
Yeah, I worked at the high school, and so I understand teachers are sometimes severely underpaid.
Right. And one of the things is people say, but you only work 32 weeks a year. And that's not really true. I mean, I'm off contract right now, but I'm finishing my grading.
Yes.
I'm sitting home reading, thinking about my classes, starting to prepare for 5 classes next semester, and writing syllabi, entering into information on the Blackboard site. So my break I'm working.
It's not your break.
Yeah, and I don't complain because I like doing it.
Right.
The nice thing is I get to do it at home. I can just put my sweats on and kick back, have a cup of tea, and,
Yeah.
and do it from home.
So what classes did you teach this semester?
I taught 5 different classes, which was a difficult deal. I taught English 060, which is a very low-level developmental English course. English 100, which is the next one. And I taught English 101 and 102, and those are the 2 foundation English courses, the composition courses that transfer to the university.
Right.
Then I taught a course called Master Student, STU 150. It's been here since I've been here. I've never taught it, never wanted to. In fact, at one point early on, I said, that's a lame class, I think. Well, because I resigned at the end of July and actually worked right up to the first week of August, I actually didn't become a full-time faculty member until about 2 weeks before classes started. So I had to scramble to get classes,
Right.
to get materials together.
Yeah.
And our new dean, the woman that replaced me, who's a great colleague, Connie Gilmore, suggested teaching Master Student. More than suggested, because that was really only one of the options that was open.
Right.
And I didn't want to do it. But I said, okay, I'll do it. Well, she helped me out too, and she gave me a lot of material because I didn't have time to prep.
Right.
And it was a tremendous class to teach. In fact, I said to students, they had to call this class How to Be a Master Person, Human Being. Because students learn all these different skills, they do discovery things, and I had this tremendous mix. Most of the students were right out of high school. A lot of them hadn't had good experiences in school previously for whatever reason.
Right.
Then I had a lot of people in their 30s and 40s who hadn't been in school in a long time.
Right.
And a lot of those hadn't had great experiences educationally. And so it was a great journey for all of us together. I learned a lot too.
Right.
And one of the things, students discover who they are and the things they have to work on and what their vulnerabilities are and what their strengths are. And it's just a tremendous class, and you get to do a lot of group work, critical thinking, analysis. And so I was jazzed about it. I'm teaching it again next semester. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's interesting. I've never heard that class.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it sounded boring because it was, all the skills to be a master's student.
Yeah, right.
But you can make it interesting. Like next semester, I'm linking an English comp class with one of Carly's Social 101 classes. So the material for my comp class will be sociological issues and principles and theories.
Neat.
And the students that take both will get that reinforced.
Right.
So when we taught students note-taking and test-taking in Master Student, or when I did, I had started studying sociology, so I gave them a lecture on the principles of sociology. And they had to take notes, and then I gave them a quiz on what the notes were.
Huh.
So you can make it interesting, and you can make it fun, and by doing that, they're learning the skills.
Right.
Rather than just tell them, here's how you take notes.
Right, exactly.
You actually do it, and you make activities like that, and they improve tremendously.
Right. Now, I think I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that you are going to be taking over one of the English honors courses?
Yes, I will be teaching English 103.
Yes.
And I think what I'm going to do, we're going to, rather than just have students do all the 101 work and then a little extra 101 work,
Yeah.
they're going to do the 101 work, and then we're going to do something separate for the honors credit.
Okay.
I'm thinking of using things that works in movies that have been an attempt to redefine societies or to analyze societies. So I'm going to start out with the Iliad and the Odyssey, classic works that I'm sure a lot of students haven't read.
Right.
And it's about the Trojan War.
Right.
And the Odyssey is about Odysseus' trip home, but it's also about, it's a metaphor about self-discovery and self-possession, things modern day psychologists call self-actualization. It's about the redefinition of a society. Greece had previously been a warrior society, now it was becoming a civilized society.
Right.
And Odysseus learns all these different lessons on his stops. The other one we're going to look at that I've always found incredibly interesting is the movie The Wizard of Oz. It deals with social issues people don't realize, and I'll give you just a brief example. The characters are all representative of different parts of society. The lion represents the military. The Tin Man represents industry. The Scarecrow, I hate to say it, represents academia or professors. Dorothy, of course, represents American innocence. The Munchkins represent a free democracy. You know, they have the labor union or the lollipop kill. The Good Witch represents democracy and capitalism. The Bad Witch represents fascism. That's why her guards march the way they do.
Right.
The guy behind the curtain, the wizard, represents the politician, the guy that's pulling all the things.
Right.
The yellow brick road is a reference to the argument, the country, or the controversy the country was going through at the time over whether we should adhere to the gold standard or not. That would have gold back our money. And Toto is just a dumb little donut. I don't know what he represents. But it's really interesting, and there are critical analyses of the movie that you can get that really reinforce that, yeah, this fella Baum, when he wrote the book, was talking about social issues. So I'm excited about teaching the honors program.
That'll be fun. I think one of the neatest things that I've discovered about being at community college, I mean, of course I've been to a university, but is that so many teachers here really value their students and value the desire to want the students to learn. And they take things that are interesting, such as the Wizard Paws, to try and create an analogy and try and give a reason to the students to learn, you know, whereas I don't think you'd find that so much in a university, you know.
Yeah, well, and you know, when you teach at a university too, a lot of your job is research, and you have to get published.
Yeah.
Most people who teach at a community college do so because they love teaching.
Right.
That's their main focus.
Right.
And the other thing is here you have smaller classes.
Mm-hmm.
We're a small campus, and we really are known as the friendly campus. I mean, we have some instructors who really are, like you said, dedicated to the students. And I like that. I mean, I learn things because I have those connections with students. I can see students in the Learning Center, and I'll talk to them.
Right.
Cafeteria, and it's not just in class.
Right.
And of course, then I see them in town, too.
Yeah.
I live in a small town. I just saw one at Starbucks and Safeway this morning.
Nice. Maybe that's where I'll go after this. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I chose you, is I always see you on campus, and you know, you're one of those that even though you don't know me or you don't know other people, you're always, hey, how's it going? Have a great day, you know, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
What is your fondest memory of Yavapai?
My fondest memory at Yavapai, that's a tough one. I have a
Yeah.
lot of fond memories.
Right.
One I think is an interesting story is early on here I had a student who was a bartender at the Spirit Room in Jerome. And he shows up the first day of class. I see this guy coming to campus on his Harley. He gets off and he's wearing a pretty big guy, the cut off, you know, black leather vest, long hair, sits in my class. And it's almost like he's saying, yeah, prove that you can teach me something.
Right.
What's this all about? Well, we had this dynamic class. We had such a mix of people. And English 101 was where he started. And like I said, it's an argumentative class. And so we did live debates, too, as we were learning the art of argument. And this guy got into it so much that he ended up taking 1 and 2 from me, took an American literature course from me, went to ASU, majored in political science, and then he went to Fordham University and got a law degree.
Wow.
And today he's a lawyer down in the valley, and he looks entirely different than the biker that came here.
Wow.
So that's a fond memory because you see how education transforms people.
Right.
And he said to me, and it was really flattering, he said, it was that 101 class that did it. I discovered that I liked arguing. I liked using language. I said, well, you're in the right field. Why?
That's great.
But, you know, there's so many fun memories. I go to the hospital, and I see nurses, and they'll say, hey, I still don't forgive you for making me read Bartleby the Scrivener from 7 years ago. They remembered something about my class, and that's kind of neat.
Yeah. What would you say has been one of your most challenging experiences here?
My most challenging experience here was when I was the assistant dean and the dean. Like I said, I tried to become an advocate for faculty and for the Verde campus, and you had to be on your toes because sometimes I felt like the Prescott campus didn't really know what was going on over here. We're separated at mountains pretty high.
Right.
So that was a real challenge.
Right.
Other than that, it's a constant challenge to keep the students interested, yet teach them something.
Right.
Students keep me on my toes, and you want to be effective in the classroom. You just don't want to go through the motions, and you want to be challenge students, but encourage them at the same time.
Right.
So it's a challenging job.
Interesting. Yeah, I know, like you said, Prescott. I mean, for example, there out of the honors program, we have 25 available positions.
Right.
22 of those students are from Prescott.
Right. 3
of them are from the Verde campus. And I think a lot of it, too, is, I'm not sure if the Verde students necessarily know that the honors program is available to them, But,
Some don't. However, I will say, I believe your instructor does come over here, right?
yes, he does.
Brent has done it, and that's more than a lot of other Prescott folks.
Right.
I
Yeah, he's been over here for
When I was in the dean's position, I talked to Prescott folks who said, I've never been on the Verde campus. But from what my understanding, Brent has really tried to have a presence over here as well as over there, and that's
Yes,
great.
And he has done a great job. We've had a lot of interesting colloquiums with different instructors that have come and spoke, different people from the community. We had Dieter Bartels 2 weeks ago, and it's been really interesting, yeah. Okay, well, I guess that's about it.
All right.
And I appreciate so much. you
No
sitting
problem.
here
Glad to do
talking
it,
with
Tyler.
us. You've been very interesting, and I'm glad I chose you.
Thank you.
Thank you.